Today I'm going to be giving you my 2 cents on guitar cases, so stick around. Hey everybody, it is Aaron at Warmouth, and something we don't often talk about on this channel is guitar cases. And it's interesting because there's kind of a schism in the guitar world about what kind of guitar cases are best right now. And I will be the first to say it completely depends on your use case. You know, if you are a guitar player who plays mostly at home, you have different needs than a guitar player who's playing in nightclubs. From there you have different needs from a guy who's flying, or you know, and then you go to the next level, you've got some guy that's touring, doing a world tour. They all have different needs. So to say that one solution is right for everybody is never going to fly. Everybody has different needs depending on what their use case is. So let me tell you my use case before I tell you what my favorite cases are. I gig a lot, mostly like casino level gigs. And so I have gigged a ton at that level. And I also do a certain amount of fly dates. And so I've flown with my guitars using all kinds of different cases. And with that in mind, I'll also say that I have 3 criteria that I go by when I'm deciding what case I should use. First of all, the case is for protection. I think everybody agrees that a case is supposed to protect your guitar from harm, but that is not the only criteria that I keep in mind when deciding what case is right for me. The second criteria is transportability. The only time that my guitars are in a case is when I'm moving them. Therefore, the ease with which I can transport them means a lot. And then third, and this is kind of weird, but stashability, and by that I mean how easy is this case to stash when I'm not using it. And that comes into play both at home when your guitars are sitting out and your cases are being stored somewhere, and also at a gig when you've set up your rig and you've got everything ready to go for the night and you need to stash your case somewhere. Stashability is important. So let me start out by saying, number one, I do not like the traditional wooden cases. I've pretty much purged my life of those cases. I find them hard to transport and I find their stashability very low. I've been at gigs where there'll be a lineup of hard cases and they fall over like dominoes and tip something over. So, you know, they do offer good protection, but their transportability and stashability is very low. And maybe the worst example of all that I can think of are PRS cases. I'm sure they offer great protection, but they are so stinking heavy. They're impossible to transport. I would never want to have to lug one of those things around an airport. On the other hand, like a Gibson Les Paul case, the traditional wooden one, offers some amount of protection. It's way, way lighter, but still hard to transport. And for a Les Paul, you know, the most common thing that I see happen, that I should say that I've seen happen at gigs that I've been at, you know, people want to say, well, you know, if it gets run over by a truck, I've never seen that happen. I'm sure it has happened lots of times, but I've never seen it. What I see happen more often is that a case is standing up and it falls over, or a case is standing on its side and it falls on its face. And a Gibson wooden case, I'm not sure would protect a Les Paul from those two kinds of falls. So anyway, those are my 3 criteria for judging cases. And with that said, I will tell you my least favorite, and that is this, a flimsy soft case. If your case falls over all on its own, that is like the bare minimum of protection. And this one isn't the worst I've seen. I've seen some cases that are essentially a canvas sack that you put your guitar in. That is worthless to me. This is barely sufficient. I mean, it's not even robust enough to stand on its own, really. Very transportable, though. You can see that it's got stuff for backpacks, for backpack straps here. They're missing. I'm not turning it around because I don't want you to see the logo on the front. But it doesn't matter. These are just barely adequate. Now, I've already told you that I don't like wooden cases. They do offer great protection, but transportability, stashability, meh. So what is my next favorite? That would be an ABS molded case. And this one's got a billion stickers on it. I have taken this guitar all over the countryside. And these ABS molded cases are, I would say they offer about the same protection as a standard wooden case, but they are much lighter typically. And this one is a little heavy because you can see it's got a gargantuan guitar inside it. It has a Warmoth Nomad in there, Nomad body, Nomad neck. And so that's why it's so big. But I have literally flown with this all over. It offers great protection. Transportability is about the middle of the road, but I'm not sure that there's a gig bag made for this shape of guitar. So I suffer through this. That's not the best. It used to, at one time, years ago, I could get it in most overhead bins on a plane. Now, I rarely can. It's like the overhead bin design has changed, and now there's like a divider in the middle of a lot of them, and you can't get guitars in very easily. I remember one of the first Flight 8s I did with this one. We have, in that particular band, we have 2 guitarists and a bassist, and we were able to get 2 guitar cases and a bass case all in one overhead bin with room to spare. I never see that anymore. So most of the time that I fly with this, I end up gate checking it, which means you put it at the end of the gate and somebody takes it from there and throws it on the plane. When you land, they take it off out of the plane and put it right there at the gate as you're walking off the plane, and you pick it up from there. So it's out of my possession for a while. It's a roll of the dice. So, you know, this case, because it's so big, I would give it high marks for protecting my guitar. Mid marks for transportability. Stashability, nah, not that great. If it were a smaller rectangular one made for a Strat or Tele style guitar, then I would give it higher marks. They're easier to stash, but they're still rigid and they stand up. You know, their stashability is just kind of middle of the road. But the main problem I have with those kind of cases is they're very specific to the shape of the guitar. So a lot of, if you have anything that's outside of, you know, kind of a standard shape, you have a hard time getting them to fit because they're already pre-cut. The case is rectangular, but there's like styrofoam that's pre-cut in there. And so if you have an oddball shape, you can't get it to fit. It's always like you're trying to wedge it in there somehow. So that's my beef against a lot of the ABS molded cases and wooden cases for that matter. You have to make sure you get a generic one if you have anything that's off the beaten path. All right, so now let me tell you some of my favorite cases. This is one of my favorite cases. This is a mono classic case. I've had this for years. This is a different level of soft case or different level of gig bag than the one I showed you a minute ago. This is a very protective case. It's got a lot of foam in there, and you can see that it stands up on its own. Now, will this protect your guitar getting run over by a truck? Probably not, but again, I've never seen that happen. I'm sure it has, but I've never seen it happen. Would this protect your guitar falling out of a truck? I think it would. Would it, but massively high marks for transportability. You can see that it's got backpack straps. And stashability. I love these for stashability. When you're at a gig and you're trying to find some place to stash your case, you can cram this somewhere. If you have a wooden case or an ABS molded hard side case, you have to, it takes up its own space, but this can be crammed somewhere so much easier. And in fact, you can just toss this somewhere, and you don't have to, if you toss a hard wooden case, it's going to make a big ruckus. But these, you can kind of just give them a toss, and they're going to be fine. They're not going to hurt anything. So I love this new generation of, what would I say, high-end gig bags. That said, the mono is not my favorite, and let me show you my favorite. This is my favorite, and I have several of these. I've gigged with them, I've traveled and flown with them, and I love them. This is a Gator ProGo gig bag, and to me, it's the highest of everything. It's great marks for protection. I think it's much more rigid than the mono. It's got better protection all around than the mono. All the pockets and stuff are very plush, just very plush. You can see that the pockets are bulging because I have certain things I always keep in here all the time, cables and stuff that I never want to be without. Same up here, I've got extra strings and string winders and stuff in there that I never want to be without. It's got so many pockets. It's even got a rain cover up here. If it's raining, you can bust out this rain cover and put it over the whole thing. I've never done that, but you can if you want to. I really love these. Again, stashability is awesome, but there is one big reason that I prefer them over the mono. Well, two. I think it's more rigid. The mono tends to be a little floppy and sloppy just a little bit. This is not so much. I feel like it holds my guitar better, but the biggest reason why I prefer this over the mono is because it will stand on its edge like a regular guitar case, like a wooden case or an ABS case. It will stand on its edge, whereas the mono constantly falls on its face. It will not stand on its edge. And so that is the main reason why I prefer the Gator ProGo gig bag. Now, another thing about gig bags that I really prefer is that they are very flexible when it comes to what shape of a guitar you want to put in there. We get asked a lot at Warmouth. I have this body style. I have a Velocity body style. Where can I find a case for it? Well, it'll fit in a Gator ProGo or a mono classic case because they're not shape specific. So you can easily fit in there. I bet you could fit maybe even a Warmouth Mooncaster body in this. If you can't, you could probably get their next size up. I think they sell one for acoustic, and you could for sure fit a Mooncaster body in that. There are a few shapes that are a few Warmouth body shapes that are a little trickier to buy cases for. Mostly, I would say the odd shapes, like the V's, the VK, the VR, the Switchback. And I don't own any of those. I've never gigged with those, so I am not sure what kind of cases are available for those. Like I showed you before, I do know the Nomad body shape will fit in that ABS molded case that SKB makes. But these will fit the biggest array of sizes. Like the Warmouth bodies that will go in this would be pretty much all of them. Musiclander, WGD, the Soloist, the Velocity, a Regal body will go in here. Like I said, I'm pretty sure a Mooncaster would, though I have never tried it. And I do know that there are lots of really high-end cases like Hiscox cases and stuff, and I have no experience with those. I don't want to spend that much on a case. If my use case where I were touring the world and somebody else was responsible for putting my guitar in a case every night and put it on the back of a semi, I might jump up for a Hiscox case or an Anvil style case. And I actually have had Anvil style cases made in the past for guitars, and I always found them overkill. For a lot of the same reasons that I don't like some wooden cases. They're too heavy for my use case. If somebody else is packing up my guitars and I'm traveling, on a world tour, I can totally see the need for something like that. But for what I do, I need something that's easy to carry through an airport, that can stash really easy at a venue, or stay out of the way and not take up a bunch of space at my house. And something that offers a reasonable amount of protection. And I think the sweet spot for all those things are these new higher end gig bags. So these are my favorite. So anyway, that was a lot of case talk. I hope you found it all useful, and I hope that it informs you on what case you might look for whatever Warmoth body you're trying to find a case for. And that's it. If you have any more questions, make sure and check out the Warmoth website or give our customer service reps a call. And until next time, keep on picking.